Hey, hey.
What's going on? You're listening to another episode of the What is Humans podcast with Shane Strunk and Dennis Kluba. If you've never listened to this podcast before, it's a personal development podcast where Shane Strunk and myself, Dennis, talk about things that are going on in our life and can hopefully help us grow through conversation. And hopefully you at home can have some takeaways as well. And most importantly, we're experts in almost nothing.
What's up, dude?
Hey, sorry, man. Zoned out a little bit there on the intro. I was just like enthralled with your voice. I was feeling it, and then I just forgot to hit the music.
I feel like the hardest part about doing this is never the actual conversation. It's just the bullshit intros.
Well, we produce it, so it's like there's nobody that's like behind the
Hitting
thing.
the button,
Yeah,
and
no.
like Dennis zones out. I'm like, hey, man. And I just step in to do it.
Yeah.
So if you want to see the behind the scenes,
Watch
go
on
to
YouTube.
for sure.
Yeah, man. But
What's new?
nothing much. I mean, right now, this is weekly with us. But basically, we've built out this entire studio. We're lining up the guests that we want to have and come on, and we think they'll be exciting.
Had to buy a new camera. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of things in motion.
A lot of money spent.
Well, it's like, the startup costs, we're like actually making it into something that, because I mean, the original first 2 years was a phone, like a broken ring light stand.
Yeah, like an Adobe subscription.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you need. And like the Zoom recorder. And then we've upgraded all in this year with the soundboard, the better mics, cameras.
And changing some of the social media and also to be more of an interview model. So
Yeah, completely.
all exciting stuff. What are we talking about today? I think this one's interesting.
We're talking about curiosity wins, and we've talked a lot in the past couple months, I feel like, about how to find your passion, your purpose, really following that curiosity. This is going to be more about kind of similar, adjacent as far as curiosity is concerned, but also why the individuals that remain curious find things that they can just consistently be enamored and curious about. They're the ones that win on not only a success level, like, maybe financially or career wise, but also personally, spiritually, emotionally.
Are just fulfilled in those ways because they truly followed what interested them.
Exactly.
What questions they had internally.
Mm-hmm. And this topic really came from a couple different clips that I was watching on different personal development people. I couldn't tell you who it was about.
Yeah, your TikTok.
Yeah, exactly. and and what it really was about was talking about the individuals that were first, kind of when podcasting was coming out, or maybe YouTube, interviewing individuals, and how the people that they were interviewing were experts in certain areas or subject matter, but the person that was interviewing them was gaining so much from each interview because they were so curious about the other people that they were talking to.
Yeah. It just like shows the power of like, you can't really learn anything if you don't like put yourself in a vulnerable state of, hey, I'm an open book. I don't know anything on this subject.
Yeah.
Teach me how it is you do what you do.
Yeah.
I don't care how I look. I'm not afraid to raise my hand in class and ask, hey, slow down. I don't get this.
Yeah.
And it's the ability to ask questions or to, follow up on, an interest or, something's odd about this thing, or it's like those unanswered things, which drives you to, become a genius in a field, to really master something, is when you are able to ask and follow these curiosities fully, compared to, oh, that's interesting, I'm not going to follow up on it.
Yeah.
So there's no knowledge gained.
Yeah, completely. And I also think in terms of like the first bloggers that what I was interested, there was a interview that I listened to, which was from Lauren Conrad, who was, or not Lauren Conrad, Lauren somebody else, I forget, but she runs the Skinny Confidential.
Okay.
But she was talking about how she blogged for 3 years on like makeup, health and wellness, really in that, niche. And it was all about she would go out and try new things and report back. So you didn't have to try them. She would try them and give you her review or her thoughts on it. And that's the same thing of take a field, take a niche that you're interested in.
Yeah.
If you go out and you're the curious one that, like you just said, is vulnerable, puts yourself out there and tries different products or does different activities, people are going to be interested in that gap that you're filling for them. You go do it. Okay, they don't need to do it because you told them. So you're taking away time and energy that they would have had to spend.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And I guess it was a topic I wanted to talk about here today was like, what is it about, I guess, your individual niche or your individual interest that is so important than, hey, my friend is interested in this, so I'm going to, follow the same interest. Or this person's successful, so I'm going to try and learn, these skills. Or this job or this career makes a lot of money, so I'm going to try and do that. So what is it about individual pursuit that is so important in curiosity when it comes to self-improvement, to finding your passion, to being happy and successful in your life?
I think that our individual experiences are the things that that's ultimately the thing that we seek out, whether that's in stories, it's in, experiencing it for ourselves, et cetera. So you should seek out things that you find interesting experiences that you gain happiness from.
Sure.
And by doing that, even if it's in a field that maybe other people have already, delved into to a certain extent, your experience is different than theirs. And so you're going to have different things about whatever niche it is that excite you versus someone else, right? Not everything that they love within podcasting is going to pump them up. Yeah. Not everything that you love is going to pump the other person up.
Sure.
And so that's where it's like the individuals that maybe are interested, like we have people that we find, like as mentors, role models, people that we want to be like.
Sure.
But there's some things about Rich Roll that I don't care about.
Yeah, I think it's like, I think the important thing to ask yourself, like, do I truly have an interest in this field or subject?
Yeah.
And am I doing this off of, personal reasons or, external factors of what this will bring me? Yeah. So I think it's like an outside versus inside question that you need to ask yourself is like, what's truly driving you? Is it, is it monetary reasons? Is it
societal?
Is it your parents telling you to live a certain way? Is it a peer that you want to be like? So it's like, how can we answer that for ourselves uniquely? And by us answering that question or following these curiosities, we're able to do it well because we have this driving, we have this magnetism towards this subject. We don't have to get motivated. We don't have to force ourselves to this subject or to this effort it takes to learn something just because it's an interest.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think that's the thing that I was most interested about in this topic, which is that people are often winding themselves up every day to get going, to be like, oh, and the motivating factor is, okay, I got to pay the bills or I got kids,
Sure,
et cetera, as opposed to I get to go do whatever it is that you are doing that you're interested in. It's like, if there's something that you were consistently in awe, like, oh my gosh, and it could be the most niche thing ever.
Yeah.
But if it's interesting to you, it's like every day you'll wake up and be like, man, I wonder if we did it this way.
Yeah.
I wonder if anybody's ever tried to do it this way. Let's try it. Or let's look up if anybody's done it, and that's what keeps, I think, an internal joy present as opposed to, like you said, external factors.
Let's talk about like the internal fulfillment you'd get from being drawn to something, having, following that curiosity instead of forcing yourself, to certain behaviors, to like, hey, I'm going to learn this subject because it will make me this money. Or it's like, hey, I'm going to take this class because society tells me to.
Yeah.
What is it that's so much more internally fulfilling when you are just chasing, what you're naturally drawn to instead of that forcing?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just like a tale as old as time, right? There's the person in the ivory tower that's making a ton of money every year but's unhappy.
Sure.
And then there's the person that is making 60K or 50K or whatever, but they have their small shop where they see everyone in the neighborhood and they get to do whatever craftsmanship that they want to do, where they're like, they are so happy.
Yeah.
And I can't really tell you, like, maybe, like you said, it's this inner joy that you're like fulfilling. And I don't know how to describe it other than that, like, that's, I think, where that internal happiness comes from.
I think it's like, just like something that is unspoken is like, if you can listen to your internal thoughts or internal motives and you answer them, it's like that reward that you get from following that curiosity, from learning a new subject that interests you, to being vulnerable and asking questions. And yeah, you might look dumb or you might mess up, you might fail, but you still get up and do it.
Yeah.
Like that fulfillment of trying, of following, is something that can't be matched versus forcing yourself to a behavior of like some crazy routine, or I'm going to check this off my list.
Yeah.
Just because I have that incredible discipline and can do it.
Yeah.
Versus the, hey, I love this. It's so easy just because it's internally what I'm interested in.
Yeah. I also think it just has something to do with like working for something else as opposed to working for yourself. Like, and this isn't like an entrepreneur versus a typical 9-to-5 employee type situation, because I believe that you can work inside of a company and work for yourself. I think it's like, if you're working for, like we said before, monetary reasons, societal reasons, other than yourself, that's when it's like, you're kind of taking away whatever that childlike joy was that is the reason that you would be happy, if you pursued your dreams.
Sure.
And you're going to give up some of that monetary, success or result probably.
Right.
But I think that the most successful people in all capacities and all facets of their life ultimately go after the things that they want to do, not what someone else wants for them.
Told them to do, or society told them to do. Yeah, I think that's like a good segue into our hows and maybe how we can follow our own curiosity or natural interest. It's like, how do we notice it?
Yeah.
Like, how do we listen to our internal voice? How do we follow up on it?
Yeah.
Because it's definitely, I don't know, it's something that is definitely lost, especially as you get older.
Yeah, I agree. I really love the word that you mentioned, listen. We talk a lot on this podcast.
Sure.
And I extra talk a lot. And I think that
You do?
Yeah. And I think that one of the first things that you mentioned was this listening. And I don't know that it's necessarily listening for the things that you're interested or curious about, but it's almost like, listen, this is going to sound so corny, but it's like, listen to like your heart of take away maybe your, the brain and the monetary success that you, or the societal, impressions that you're getting, and ask yourself like, man, when do I feel overwhelming joy and happiness? And just listen to yourself on that and be like, okay, am I interested in that? Yeah. I must be, because I'm so happy in those moments, right?
I think there's something too, like, life will just throw you these like curveballs, and it's like it's almost during times of struggle or when things aren't going right.
Yeah,
there's something like internally telling you like, hey, what about this path? And it's like very quiet.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, like maybe we try to pivot from here. Maybe you follow that interest in running,
Yeah.
that you've had in the back of your mind. So it's like almost see like moments in difficulty to, okay, like this this is a bottom or this is struggle, and what can I learn from this and how can I pivot or take steps forward from this?
Yeah.
I think that's like moments where we need to listen.
Yeah. I also think that in moments like in a similar situation when you're struggling or when you're tired, but you still are almost like enamored by, like, it's like, I know that there's been times when I've been very tired, either coming home from work or, like just being at home. And I will still like open my laptop and like be like, I could edit some stuff right now.
Sure.
And I think that that's when it's like, even when you're unmotivated, what still, like if somebody started talking to you about, for example, Shane and I do this pretty much every night, but I mean, at different times of the day, Shane might have come home from work super tired. But if I brought up to him like, hey, but did you see that new running documentary?
Sure.
I'm sure you'd be like, wait, what? Like who, it's just like something that's like, even when you're dead.
It's like what's still is a reminder, of the goal.
Yeah.
So I think it's both ends to like summarize. It's the low moments where life's throwing you some struggle.
Yeah.
There's also the high moments of like, what is it about this thing that's bringing you joy, fulfillment? Was it the overcoming of the obstacle? Was it just the whole process of, hey, I just love this activity or this hobby? So just listen. So maybe it's like a journaling practice of like, find what you like, find what you're curious, about, would be a great first how.
Yeah, for sure. I think that also maybe like humility as a second step, just in the sense of people that are consistently curious recognize that they're not experts in a field. And I think that the moment that
This is good.
we begin to think that we are the very best, you should strive to be the best.
Sure.
But you should always have in the back of your mind, there is always more that we can learn.
Yeah. There's something about like genius or like when you can only really improve when there's areas of improvement.
Yeah.
You can't ever grow if you think, hey, I have all this mastered. I know exactly what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to listen to another opinion, perspective.
Yeah.
I don't see any gaps. I don't see any areas of improvement. So that's like why curiosity is so important for growth. But exactly, it's like you have to have humility, in the room of looking vulnerable or just being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Raising your hand, asking the follow-up question, et cetera.
Yeah. And then the last thing that I was thinking, and I think you'll like this one too, is surround yourself with people that have a gap that you have a gap to. Either they have they have knowledge ahead of you. They have experience and wisdom. They have, just an expertise in a field that maybe you have never even touched. Because when you surround yourself with those people, just by being around them, you're going to learn small things about their routine, how they approach their day, their habits that you don't even have to ask. It's almost like you can just be like, oh, I'm seeing it and I'm curious and, this is interesting.
Yeah. It's almost like a more actionable, like humility test of like, hey, put yourself around smart people that in areas that you want to improve in.
Yeah.
And that's how you can learn and grow, is learning from others who have done this, who have done that, and can help you.
Yeah.
Because they have been through that. They have spent the hours. There's experience and tips that you can gain from them just by being around them.
Yeah. And the one example that I always thought was so awesome of this was like leaders. One, for example, is like the president or CEOs or whomever in the executive world. they're rarely the smartest people in the room. They surround themselves with specialists in different areas to come to, to learn consistently to make the best decision. As opposed to, I think that most of us let our ego win and say, well, I enjoy being the smartest in the room.
It's like we need a little bit, like we can't be dictators of our own life. We need to seek out others' opinions, opinions of people we admire and we have general interest in.
Yeah, for sure.
So why are we talking about curiosity wins today?
I think that it really is like there's these moments throughout our day, and right now I'm so interested just because of the amount of growth that I've had over the past couple of months. It's like things open up in fields that I'm like, wow, I didn't know that that was possible or that I could do that. And then I think similar to what you'd mentioned, people and opportunities open up when you do things that you want to do,
Yeah, I think for me, my why was just like kind of a reminder or a lesson for me is like, I think I, have an ego and it's something I want to combat, and to like truly learn in a field or a subject, you have to be extremely vulnerable and follow your curiosities and ask for help. I feel like people don't ask for help. I'm speaking about myself.
Yeah.
Enough to improve, in an area.
Yeah.
It's so easy to brush off opinions, brush off ideas, not seek help, but it's so harder to get to the goal you're after doing it alone.
I just want to say, piggybacking off of that, people don't ask, for help is also just like societally, there's this idea that when you get hired for a job or maybe you're becoming a parent, that you should know how to do that. There's a little bit of a like mix, if you ask me, of there used to be like apprenticeships where you would learn.
Sure.
And it was known that you didn't know how to do something when you started.
Right.
Versus now it's, okay, you need 5 years of experience.
You need to know, and then you get the job.
And we can't teach you. And it was we had similar experiences in college sports.
Sure.
There wasn't growth once you got to that level. It was, hey, you need to be ready to play, and all the learning should come in your own time.
Yeah.
And that's probably opposite of what we're arguing.
What you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's do a quick recap. So today we talked about curiosity wins. It was really just this idea of us going through, growth challenges, and specifically why curiosity is important, for growth, for improvement, and how important it is to be vulnerable with yourself, be humble, to ask that question around your interest versus forcing behaviors or habits from societal pressures, and thinking that you'll grow and improve in your life.
Yeah, completely.
It just makes it so much more difficult.
Yes. And as far as the hows are concerned, the first one we talked about really actionably is like journaling, but more importantly, listening in times when you're really high. For example, you're most joyous.
Sure.
Or in times when you are struggling immensely. What's that thing that's maybe talking to you quietly saying, hey, like, this is okay. We should try this. We should do this, so think about those moments.
Yeah, there's probably reasons why that's happening.
Exactly.
The second how was really just how we need to be humble.
Yeah.
And by having humility, it allows us to be vulnerable, ask questions, look dumb, raise your hand, ask for help, because that's a strength if you want to improve in a subject, to follow your interest, to be drawn towards a subject that can help you grow.
Yeah. And then finally, our third one was surround yourself with people that have more knowledge, more wisdom, more experience than you, because just by being around them, you're going to gain these little nuggets of curiosity that you previously didn't know that you even had.
Yep. And then we got into our whys, and my why was just around how it's important to ask for help, to seek others' opinions, to learn from others that are better than me in a subject if I want to master that subject.
Yeah, completely. And for my why, it was really just recognizing over these past 2 months all of the growth that has come from following a curiosity, and then the opportunities that have come based off of, taking the leap and following that curiosity.
And I think that wraps another week of What is
Humans. Thanks, guys.